Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Music of the Week. We have 6 albums to go through as pretty much usual, usual, let's go through them. We begin with a band called Black Eyes and their new album Hostile Design. Now, I thought this was a new band, but this is a band that actually formed in the early 2000s at some point, broke up in 2004 if memory serves, or roughly around that time, and then they reformed in 2022, and this is their first album since 2004. And it was produced by Ian fucking MacKaye, so you know it's good. This is a sort of arty, post-punky band. I'm giving this one an A, mostly because it's really bloody weird. And first of all, yes, I do want to get out of the way. There are some sources that call this an EP, including Spotify, but more sources call it an LP. And also, I needed something to fill out the weekend, and turns out it was this, and it was really good. I'll go over structure first because it's really fucking weird, but in a good way. Again, this is a post-punky band with hardcore and more traditional punk and like art rock elements. And the fact that it actually gets quite a lot, it's only got 6 songs at 29 minutes, but like, it manages to get a lot out of that short time frame. It's the shortest album of the past weekend, and yet it's the one that had probably the longest lasting impact, I would say, on me. Lyrics I did like, but I couldn't find anything for themes, and usually I do try and rely on Gemini for that stuff, but, Gemini is ever unreliable, and it says that there's stuff about, like, political things and queer sexuality, and I think that some of the band members are gay. I don't know, I didn't look into that. And it's all well and good if that's the stuff they're talking about, but again, I could not find enough context for that, because usually if I do search and, like, Gemini pops up with something, there's usually, like, other sources to corroborate that. But in this case, no. So that's not the band's fault, but like, I just wish I had more to go off of on here, because there is good writing from what I was able to sort of find. Enjoyed the performances though. I think everyone does vocals, and if they all do vocals, that's really good. Really good stuff from the band, just really solid chemistry and cohesion, and instrumentation is really good too. There's a lot of flavour, and there's a lot of fluidity, and a lot of flun. That was me trying to say the word fun, but with an L there. I'm not entirely sure why, but there's a really good style mix, and it doesn't feel schizophrenic. It juggles it all quite well. And also quite like the production. I mean, it's Ian MacKaye, and he's really good at producing the style of music. I think Discord Records is his label. That's Discord with an H after the C. So, yeah, clever that. And, Ian MacKaye, I mean, if he's producing an album, I'm usually going to be invested in it, because he's really bloody good at it, really organic, enriches the sound, just makes everything sound nice, and yeah, I was actually pleasantly surprised by this one. And if you'd heard of Black Eyes before but didn't get around to them, I recommend giving this one a go if this is your first. Okay, well, it can be tricky to get into because it is such a weird album, but I still recommend giving it a spin anyway, because you might as well just dive in feet first with this one. That's what I did, and I quite enjoyed it. Next, we have a band called Friendship Commanders and their new album, Bear, and I absolutely love it when a band's name tells me fucking nothing about them, because I bet when you first heard this name, like me, you assumed they were some sort of like indie pop punk sort of thing, a happy sounding band. This is a sludgy, doomy noise grunge duo from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm giving this one a B+, because again, really fucking weird, but also I can't deny that I liked it, and one thing I was actually quite surprised by was the lyrics. There's a really good theme of belonging, and front woman, and I think she does guitar as well, Buick Audra, writes from her perspective as a woman that she could be doing more for women as a feminist. And I was like, not a lot of women talk about that in rock music. Like they could be doing more. A lot of them actually talk too much like they're doing enough. Which is fine because it's good to have that confidence, but to be self-aware that you could be doing more, I think that's a really good theme regardless of gender, and I like that it's leaned into quite heavily on the album. I do like the band themselves though. Buick is a really good vocalist and guitarist, and bassist/drummer Jerry Rowe is also really solid. The album was self-produced, by the way. I like the production, as we need more bands producing their own thing, but I think what benefits this one is the fact that there's only 2 people, so there's not really a lot of cooks in the kitchen anyway, which I think helps make it become more organic. Excuse me. But yeah, there's really good chemistry in terms of production and in terms of performances. They just work well together in both of those things. I also quite like the instrumentation. There's a lot of really good riffs, and there's a lot of really good stuff happening, and it's got this weirdly warm and cozy tone, especially in terms of, like, on the bass. The bass is produced quite well in this album, to be honest, but, like, for an album that mixes sludge, doom, noise, and slight grunge bits, you wouldn't expect it to feel, like, comfy. and it weirdly does, and that sort of goes with the structure as well. It can take a while to make its point at certain times, but when it gets there, it feels all the more worth it. It's a really nice example of how to do a good slow burn pacing. Honestly, I like this a lot more than I was expecting to, and it took a couple of listens for it to settle in for me, but once it gets there, you are in for a really good time. Next up, we keep going with a weirdly recurring theme this year, which is posthumous releases. This is a hip-hop duo called Mobb Deep and their new album Infinite. The duo consists of Prodigy, who passed away back in 2017, and Havoc, who is thankfully still alive. I'm giving this one a B+ as well. This is some really good East Coast-leaning gangster rap, and I quite liked it. I think the main standout to me is the fact that The Alchemist, who is the producer, and I think he's worked on the other albums with them before, like, the production really stands out to me. It's really nicely done, really great sampling, really great beats work as well, and yeah, just a really clean mix, and The Alchemist makes alchemy out of it, and I like how much it works. I also really enjoy the lyrics. There's really good and solid rhymes, and I quite like the themes going over things like struggle and loss and racial identity. I do think the tone is a bit weird though. I don't know why there's songs about trying to sound well-odd and about the amount of people you've killed, and like there's a two-part song which isn't even like one after the other. Like, it's weird how it's paced out, and it's like a song about sex, but it's like in two parts, and it's not even like within 7 songs of each other. I don't think. I will correct that, obviously. But yeah, it's just very weird how that's put together. I do really enjoy the performances though. It really saddens me that these are the last recordings we'll ever get of Prodigy, because he was fantastic. Him and Havoc have amazing chemistry. They are both really bloody good, and yeah, really good guest spots on here, but it is mostly Havoc and Prodigy who are the standouts to me, and they're both really brilliant instrumentation, really good beats, and I like that it goes for the more East Coasty vibe. I did want it to go a bit more into it at times, but I like that it does just enough to, keep things fresh. It's got this really nice fluidity to it. I do mostly like the structure. It is quite a long album, 15 songs, 51 minutes, 36 seconds, and it is a tad predictable at points, but it's solid enough for me. It's got good enough construction and a really good vibe. And yeah, I think, like, even if this is the last album we'll get from these guys, which makes sense for obvious reasons, I think it's a really good sort of like tribute to Prodigy's legacy. I didn't listen to him like ever when he was still alive, but I was familiar with him. And just to clear up any confusion, no, Prodigy was not associated with the English trancey electronic music project called The Prodigy. Prodigy. I don't know if they ever did a collab. I'm not entirely sure on that. But that's not what that's about. What this is about. This is about just some really good East Coast leaning hip hop. So I can recommend it if you just want some really good East Coast leaning hip hop. Next up, we reached another old standard in this video series, which is a band that formed a bloody long time ago that I'm just going around to for the first time. This is Testament with their new album Parabellum. This is album number 14 by this thrash metal band. I'm going to give this one a B. I thought it had some really good instrumentation. I would say it's probably my favourite thing about the album. Really good thrash metal stuff with a lot of really good speed, and there's just really fucking good guitar and drum work. I quite like how the riffs sound on those things. Lyrics I fairly enjoyed. I like the themes of politics and dread and technology rising, mostly focusing on AI, and we're getting a fair bit of that, to be honest, and I understand why, because it's good to talk about that, but like, the album feels weirdly a bit too self-serious in a few areas, and I feel like, it doesn't have a super consistent tone with what it wants to talk about. I'll get into more about that later though. I did enjoy the performances though. The band are really good, and Eric Peterson, who also produced the album, is just a really good lead guitarist for this style of thrash metal. And having said that though, while he is good, I feel like the production wasn't super unique, and it feels like it focuses a bit too much on the guitar at times. But like, it's good at making things sound loud, which works for the genre, but it can be a bit overbearing at some points. I also do enjoy the structure. It's good enough in terms of its pacing, but not really much in terms of variety. Like, there's a couple of songs that are sort of unique, but it can feel fairly by the numbers at points, which isn't a terrible thing. I just wanted it to do more with what it has, and considering this band has been around since the bloody 80s, I feel like they could have tried to at least get away with something. I will admit, though, sort of alluding to the thing I was on about earlier, I wanted this to sort of be a concept album because some of the songs kind of lean into that, and I really wanted this band to go for it. I mean, I don't know if they've done that before. They probably have. I didn't look into their back catalogue, so there's a really good chance they did. I think the lyrics are good enough to substantiate a concept. I just think, they should lean a bit heavier into that next time, but that is just me. Next up, we have the album that I was probably the most excited for last weekend, if I'm being honest. It is Weekend Friends. I still absolutely adore that pun on that name. With their new album Feels Like Hell, for those who don't know, this is a sort of indie punky rock band from the with a Midwest emo tinge vibe from Portland, Maine. I don't know why I brought that bit up, but there you go. And I give this one an A+. Yeah, I absolutely bloody enjoy this one. Let's go instrumentation first. Really good guitar work. I like the bass and I like the drums, and the Midwest emo vibe really helps, but I like that there's heavier feels to points and slightly more punky bits and slightly more grungy bits and even some shoegazy bits. It's not stuff that's experimented with a lot, but goddamn, it adds so many interesting elements, and I was really happy about that because I feel like this is something they tapped into briefly with their previous album, which was Quitter in 2021, which I caught late, but it was in my top 30 because I really liked it more than I thought I would. And holy shit, the leaps and bounds they've they've come across in 4 years, really good. I fucking enjoy the performances as well. I think frontwoman Sonia Storino is a really good guitarist and a really, really good vocalist as well. Her range is kind of mental. She screams more here too, which I think is really good. And the rest of the band, which is only 2 other people, also great. It was actually produced by the band's bassist Annie Hoffman, so that's good, and the production itself is really nice. It's got a really good organic feel to it, and I like the sort of modesty to the texturing. I actually think it makes some parts of the sound feel a bit more earned. Also, fucking love the lyrics. There's a really good theme of burnout and trying to be genuine in an age where it's so damn easy to fake being genuine. And yeah, it's a really good theme, and I really like that a lot of the songs actually sort of focus on that. And it feels a bit darker in tone compared to Quitter, but in a justified way. And when you're suffering with burnout, I speak from experience, it can be difficult to try and keep thankful for that sort of thing when you really don't think you can afford being thankful for it. So, yeah, again, weirdly relatable. I can't think why. And I think the structure is really good as well. A lot of the songs have a lot going for them, and it's got a really good cover of Torn to end it off. I do feel like I should maybe dock points for it ending with a cover of Torn, but also it mixes up the style a lot. It's got a lot of really good pacing choices. It knows when to go fast. It knows when to go slow. It's really good stuff. And yeah, this is a band only a decade in, but they're on a great label, probably the best indie label in Don Giovanni, producing their own stuff. And as I mentioned earlier, I actually quite like how much more mature the sound feels compared to last time. Then again, I haven't spun Quitter in a while, but I did quite like it. So if you liked Quitter, you'll like this because it's more of the same but a lot better. And finally, we have Yellowcard returning with their first album since 2016, I think it was. Yeah, Better Days. And I'm giving this one a C+. For those who don't know, Yellowcard is a sort of pop punk band with a violinist in it. And I don't know what it is with a lot of bands returning, especially pop punky bands, but Good Charlotte returned for the first time in 7 years. I thought that album was fine. I think this album is fine. And I'd listened to Good Charlotte and Yellowcard albums before. I did a backtracking episode about Yellowcard. Why is the only band returning? The only pop punk band sort of returning that I like, The Starting Line. I didn't listen to any other full albums before this, and they might have put out the best one. But let's go over this one while we're here. Instrumentation is alright. It's got solid enough alt rock and pop punky stuff with some solid riffs, and there is good violin, but I wanted a bit more violin because it's often been crucial to the band's sound, and it feels a bit less crucial here, and I wanted it to be more there. I wasn't super big on that, and I feel like the riffs are sort of simplistic a little bit at times. Same could be said for the lyrics. There is good themes of forgiveness and growing old, but the format of the writing feels too familiar to old stuff by the band. I mean, this is a theme they sort of went about on Southern Air back in 2012. I think that it was done better there, mostly because Southern Air is a much better album than this, but who am I to say? I do quite like the performances, and I think the band are also really good together. And I will shout out Travis Barker for stepping up on drums. He also produced the album alongside Andrew Goldstein and Nick Long. And also, yeah, it was put out by Better Noise, and Better Noise are not a good label. They are so mid, in my opinion. I've always found them to be a very meh label. Why couldn't these guys just get back on Hopeless or something, man? Or Pure Noise? God, Pure Noise would have been a fucking great label to come back to, honestly. But back to what I was actually talking about, I think the performances are mostly alright. I really wanted Longinu W. Parsons III, who was their drummer before they broke up. Well, the second time, because this is after the second breakup. I wanted him to come back so bad because, God, he's such a good drummer. I get that he's with other projects now, but dude was a perfect fit for this style, and I miss him because he was so bloody good. And yeah, I think the production is fine as well. It's a bit overdone. It doesn't add a lot. It just makes things feel polished and safe and familiar. Not much I can say about it. And that same sentiment could be said about the structuring. Again, very familiar, very predictable. Not in a way that's offensive, but like, sort of run of the mill. Like, you expect everything that could happen with an album like this to happen, and I think it's decent for an alt rock leaning pop punk album, but it's not necessarily good for a Yellowcard album. I think they put out much better stuff than this, and I feel like I need to listen back to Ocean Avenue or something, or Paper Walls. God, Paper Walls is so good. But yeah, if you're expecting Yellowcard to do anything new, which is weird because they really could have done something new, then you're not going to get a lot out of this album if you're expecting that, but I still recommend giving it a go. I think it's an album for Yellowcard fans, but just don't expect anything different. Next, I'll do favourite album cover and favourite song. I will say favourite song first and go for score points from Infinite by Mobb Deep, because I think of all the songs on that album that tried to be a bit more narrative, it's probably the best one. It's got a really good story about the band's past. Yeah, really good lyrics about like youth death, basically, and really, really good theme there. And favourite album cover will go to Parabellum by Testament. I just like the fact that it looks like it's a bunch of people summoning this god that happens to be made of like smoke and fire and sunlight, and it's got like a halo, and it just looks really bloody cool. I mean, it's the thrash metal album cover. They often look cool, but like I just like the concept of it. It's really good. And next is next week's listening list. We have All Time Low with Everyone's Talking, Biohazard with Divided We Fall, Good Luck with Big Dreams Mister, The Last Dinner Party with From the Pyre, Military Gun with God Save the Gun, and Sabaton with Legends. Really good lineup, I think. And that'll be it. I'll see you all tomorrow for my next pay-per-view, my last one before Defy the Gods, Harsh Environment, live tomorrow from Sioux Falls, Iowa, if memory serves. So I'll see you all for that. And yeah, then over the weekend for my next Let's Play that I'm going to be recording, which is going to be Tunic. That should be fun. And I'll see you all for those things if you watch those things. If you don't, that's fine. I'm not going to force you. But I'll see you all, hopefully, for something else over the weekend. As always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye-bye.